Good, clear communication is essential. If our communication is not clear, then our listener or reader may not understand what we're trying to say. Concise communication is important because it helps us to reduce the time we spend writing, typing, talking, and listening. If we're clear and precise, then our message gets across much quicker. People have a limited attention span, and if you can get a message through quicker, they're going to be more likely to absorb and understand it. We don't need to go back and explain what we mean if we're concise. In today's busy world, conciseness can save a great deal of wasted time. Printing, advertising, paper and ink are all costly. Writing words takes time, and that's costly. If we're printing and advertising, we may be paying for the page or the word. If we're paying someone to write for us, we may be paying for the page or the word. If we have unnecessary words, we're increasing our costs unnecessarily. Printed materials need to be stored. When writing isn't concise, electronic documents can become larger and more cumbersome to work with. If you're not concise, you may need extra storage space. Printed documents can take up space in your office or your home. It's not uncommon for a 100-page book to have 10 pages worth of unnecessary words, and that can mean the book takes 10% longer to read. When time is precious and limited, and we live busy lives, do our readers really want to waste time reading an unclear and verbose document? The answer is probably no. Research by data scientist Josh Schwartz found that less than 50% of people read to the end of an article. And that could be a good article. If your article or writing is not concise or is unclear, then the chances are you will have less than 50% of people getting to the end, if any. You presumably write because you want people to read what you've said. So it doesn't make sense to not be concise. We judge conciseness by looking at the number of letters and spaces in our work, not just the number of words. A document can be made more concise by using shorter and less words. So then, how do you condense your writing? Why use a long word when a short one will do? Try to use shorter words wherever possible. If you can say something in just a word or two rather than a whole phrase, always choose just to go with the word or two. For instance, some people might say, "early this morning when the sun was rising." Now that's a lot of words. Why not just say, "at dawn"? Get into a habit of self-analysis. Consider, do you really need to write a whole paragraph? Could 1 or 2 sentences do the same thing? Reread your work and see if you can cut it down to just 1 or 2 sentences. Redundant words are unnecessary. Here are some examples. Some people might say 12 midnight, but dropping the 12 and just saying midnight has exactly the same meaning. Why would you say repeat again when you can just say repeat? adding that extra word again is unnecessary. New innovations can just be innovations. Redundant nouns are also common. For example, the garden structure was built in a day. Saying garden structure is not necessary. A single word could be used instead of two words, garden structure, and mean the same thing. You might say garden, you might say structure, you might say landscape, depending on the context. All of those things could mean exactly the same as garden structure. One word instead of two. Be direct and to the point. Some people talk in a long-winded and roundabout way. We call this circumlocution. A concise communicator might say, my car, but a long-winded communicator might say, the vehicle that I used to get to work this morning, you know, my Toyota Camry. Being long-winded can lose the reader, whether written or spoken communication. Ellipses are one or more words that can be left out of a sentence without affecting the sense of that sentence. For example, in a sentence like, this is the place which I told you about, the word which is not necessary. Consider it removing that word. This is the place I told you about. Means exactly the same thing. Passive language is less efficient. An example of this might be, the milk sold by the salesperson. That has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. The milk sold by the salesperson. If this is written in active language, you might say, the salesperson sold the milk. That only has 5 words, 1 word less. It's clearer, it's more direct, and it's economical. You want people to read what you have to say, so try to get into the habit of reading your own work. Give it a break, though. Read it the next day or at least a couple of hours later. When you come back to it, you see it with a fresh and different set of eyes. Check that it's concise and clear. Get rid of any unnecessary words, phrases, or sentences. Make sure that people read your writing all the way through.